The common thing here is to realize that as interest rates have gone up, it has not affected, or it has not affected in as significantly of an amount of demand. It hasn't affected demand as much as you might have thought, or I might have thought. Honestly, I thought the demand would have actually cooled the market more, or the interest rates, that for that matter. But it has not been that the case, and so I'm I'm expecting not like what had happened maybe, last year or 2 years ago, where the market had shot up so much, but I'm seeing prices go up quite a bit. And for example, a house is 500. It would not surprise me still if that house becomes 525 or 530. I would be mentally prepared for that. Now, because a lot of times that doesn't actually happen. There are more houses this year that are selling for asking price or less than there were last year or the year before that. There are more of those types of houses. That is going to be more common, but it doesn't mean that every house is like that. So in your mind, or my suggestion would be, hey, think through, what kind of house do I want? Do I want a house that needs more work? Do I want a house and then put money into it and get a house that's worth more later? Or do I want a house that is all done right away? Usually in the highest demand parts, well, I guess really most of the time, but especially in the highest demand times of year, especially springtime, that's when the most houses that are done, fully done, um, fully renovated, ready to go, those are the ones that sell for the most. And so if you're mentally thinking, hey, I want a house that I don't want to do anything to, I want to move right in, this is the time that it's going to be the most competitive. Now, however, that, if you know that going into it, you can still approach every house with that in mind and still be proactive and get the house that you want. My suggestion though is to not think that, oh, I have higher interest rates, therefore there is not going to be anyone else that wants the same house that I do. If you like a house, keep in mind there's a good chance that someone else also does too. I just switched my screen off. There you go. Oh, Colorado. My stonewashed jeans. Hey, my stonewashed jeans. Welcome from Colorado. I'm working with a lot of people from Colorado and also California and also Washington, interestingly enough, Washington State and also Northern Virginia. Coastal VA, Nick's Plays. Hey, Nick's Plays. So Coastal VA, that's relatively close compared to Colorado. Glad to hear from you too. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them as fast as possible. But so my point is, again, take what the last two-ish years or even 3 years of the market, if you've been involved in it at all, may have taught you, and use that learning and bring it into the current market, and you'll do very well. So for example, any strategies that you have learned about or heard about of how to win a house 2 years ago, last year, use that now, you'll do very well. Now, still be flexible. Don't necessarily, come in guns a-blazing and make an offer as strong as possible unless it's the house that you want. But when it is, I still would suggest being very aggressive. Excuse me. That's not couth for a live stream. So, so again, that being said, I would suggest if you're planning to move between now and May, June-ish, I would do it as soon as possible. And that is not to try and rush you into something. If you don't want to do it, please don't. This is only if you are planning to do this in the next few months. The reason is because as time gets closer to April, in May, in June, as school ends and as the summertime starts, vacations get planned, there is going to be more of I wouldn't say desperation, but more of a motivation for anybody who's planning to move in that springtime period to make a decision in the April, May, June time period, because mainly because of schools. I mean, schools play a big factor in a lot of these locations. So that's when I talk about places that I think might make the most sense to move to in Virginia Beach or in the Hampton Roads area. I'm going to use that as partly as an example as to spots I think that would be the best values right now if you're planning to be in certain parts of town. So moving, I still watch James answer your question. If you purchase a home with a heated pool, how many months can you use it there? Good question. Oh, wow. That's a good question. So I don't know the science behind this, to be honest with you. And I can talk to a pool guy that I know that would be able to answer this directly. And I can, if you send me my email address is, hello, where is it? There it is. Feel free to email me and I can email you back if you want a better answer offline. But this doesn't get that cold here. So meaning I'd say there's a chance for a freeze once or twice a year, maybe for about 2 days at a time. And that's probably, some people locally might say that's a bit extreme, but it can happen, but it doesn't happen that long. So my point is that with a heated pool, my guess is you could probably use it relatively long into the year. But I would say that as you get it closer into that frost, that wintertime period, I wouldn't probably keep it open. Depends on what kind it is. Like a lot of times, saltwater pools you can keep open now. You see a lot of places here that don't even have covers because they keep them open for the entire year. So it really, I guess, it depends on the type of pool you have. But I can talk to a pool guy to make sure about all that stuff. If that's something, and feel free to email me. I can answer that question again in more detail offline, just so you're not just divulging your personal information. So, anyways, um, so we're going into the springtime. We've talked about the market. Be mentally ready for competition. That's just, I'm not trying to mince words. That I just be mentally ready for that. It's okay, because think about it. As the competition increases and as the prices increase, that means on the other end of that, you're getting a house that is increasing in value. Now, some will say, well, if the prices crash, what happens then? Well, the reality is that can happen. That could happen. I It would be surprising to me to see a big crash happen, and that's again, a different topic. But because there are so few houses in the market, I would be very surprised to see it happen, because there's just the demand. It's almost like the whole thing is switched, right? But like a year or two ago, the demand shot up because there were so many people that wanted to buy based on the interest rates and people relocating across the country. On the flip side, interest rates shot way up, and when that happens, when the interest rates shoot up, what ends up happening is the supply still stays low to a certain degree, because a lot of people don't want to buy and sell the house they just got or have recently or refinanced recently that has such a low interest rate. They think, well, I don't want to buy into another interest rate higher. I have this awesome interest rate and lower price, lower payment. I want to keep that. So what's happened is a lot of people don't want to sell because they don't want to lose that. And so you have a demand that has been created because there are fewer houses on the market like before, but for a totally opposite reason. And so I'm expecting, and I've actually talked to someone today about this specific thing. And I said, hey, about the market, what about next year? Talking about selling a house next year. And I said, look, I mean, in my mind, I would prepare for houses that are valued now. Like if you got a house now worth 400, 500, 600, whatever, be prepared for that price to be about the same next year, because the positive news is there's a good chance it might increase. And if it doesn't, to me, there's a likely chance that it might end up being around the same as it is now, because if it goes up, if it retraces, I'm sorry, then it might retrace back to where it was before. So I'm thinking we're probably going to be in the same spot if that is to happen. Now, again, we are a very specific market. That's just my thoughts there behind that. But my point is that if you're aggressive with a house right now, it's a good chance you're still being aggressive into a market that is still got some appreciating to do. It seems like in the short term. So anyway, Nick's Plays. Have you ever reviewed the Crestwood area? I know exactly, of course, where you're talking about. I've been there before, yes, and I have not reviewed it yet. So it is technically, I think it's actually in Grassfield. Is it in Grassfield? It's around the edge, because it's around the edge of Oscar Smith in Grassfield. I believe it's in Grassfield, but it's in the school district that has the elementary school district that is in that neighborhood is in the primarily, I think, Oscar Smith elementary school district, elementary school. Like it's around the edge there. And houses, you'll find that a lot of the houses in there have a little bit more of a not say a modern style, but a little bit more open floor plans. It's right when that open floor plan became more popular. And so that's one of the demands of that area. But at the same time, it's in a spot where it's right in between two school districts. So it depends. Closer to Great Bridge. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I actually think it's in Grassfield School District, and I'll look that up to make sure. I could be wrong there, but I think it's Grassfield. Maybe it's Great Bridge. Anyways, I'll look it up. But it's right on that edge there. It's right off Great Bridge Boulevard, and it's near another neighborhood I like a lot called Riverwalk. But the Riverwalk is right behind Oscar Smith High School. I used to live in Riverwalk, and I love Riverwalk. But again, it's kind of a weird area. Like if you're driving down Great Bridge Boulevard, you've got old, strip mall on one side, Food Line, 7-Eleven, gas station, commercial area. You keep going, driving further down Great Bridge Boulevard, you'll find more commercial buildings and industrial areas. It's kind of a mishmash, right? And so it's not for everybody, I guess, and I guess no spot is, but I'm not. It's not like really super well, like newly renovated. It's kind of an older part of town. Crestwood, though, you'll see is kind of a newer neighborhood built in that area. And so you'll find a lot of times that Crestwood looks great online because it has the prices are a little bit lower, but the styles of the houses look very good online. There are several examples of this all across the Hampton Roads area that have neighborhoods that have that newer kind of a modern look to them and have certain prices that are a little bit lower. Sometimes not, but one, and I'm going to use this as an example right now to give an illustration, is if you go into, what's the name of the neighborhood? This is why, I love talking like from the heart and from me, but sometimes you got to be able to remember stuff off the top of your head. Estates, Courthouse Estates. There we go. Sorry, guys. Thanks for your patience. Courthouse Estates is in the southeastern section of Virginia Beach. And actually, I'll show you on the map. I'm going to share my screen to show you where Courthouse Estates is. And you see on the map here, zoom out. And southeast, Courthouse Estates is close to, well, you see there's Salem Road right there. There it is right there. This whole neighborhood right here, if you see it here, is a very relatively new neighborhood and a very kind of a modern open floor plan neighborhood. And it's got a HOA, a lot of mini neighborhoods in here. And so you see they got kind of these, let's see, like arches in the front. You see that archway there? It's right in that time period where you're starting to see those newer kind of floor plans. This area is in super high demand. I have theories as to why it's in such high demand, or it has been in such high demand. Part of my theory is that as the relocation boom happened in the last couple of 2-3 years, when people were moving from different parts of the country, when they were picking to move to Virginia Beach, they're looking at the like Zillow, for example, Redfin. They see houses online and they see different style houses, and they notice that there are a lot of houses in Virginia Beach that are, especially in the $400,000, $500,000 price range, that are a bit older. Brick ranch, brick 2-story, but they're like built in the 50s and the 60s and even the 70s. And so what you're seeing, and so I saw there are a lot of have houses in Courthouse Estates that when the boom last couple of years happened, they went way over asking price. And I saw some that went almost over 100 over asking price, $100,000 over asking price. And I think, to me, in my opinion, is part of it is because there were a lot of people that were looking online and they saw the houses, the styles, and because that style of house in Courthouse Estates was so rare, I'd say, for that price range, they jumped on it. And there are a few others like it as well, but Courthouse Estates was one of those examples. And so I think that can happen, especially with people moving from different parts of the country. They're making decisions off of pictures. And so that's where it comes down to, like, hey, look, talking to your client or agent and saying, hey, like, is this exactly the house that I want? But my point is that there are several neighborhoods like that have that newer modern feel to them that I think increased demand during that time period of relocation, because there are a lot of spots in the country that have those style houses, or more of them than I think that Virginia Beach does. Virginia Beach doesn't have as many of those in that price range. And so that's is a personal opinion I've noticed develop over time. And I'll talk about more about certain neighborhoods as we go forward as well. What about Hampton? Good question. So speaking specifically about Hampton, I was going to make a kind of a separate point to talk about Hampton here, because Hampton, I like it for a very specific reason. It is cheap for what you're getting, and you can get houses like in the low 200s still, single family houses, but you can still get a house in Hampton like 800, $1 million plus. I mean, on the water, Buckrow Beach, close to there, up north in the northeastern corner. There's some great country or even rural parts of Hampton that are fantastic. Flooding can be an issue, but separate from that, it's very rural. But my point here is that Hampton, generally speaking, is priced much less than even Williamsburg and also Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach. The thing that's happening now, though, is that the Chesapeake Bay, Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel is getting expanded. And I've talked about this before in other videos. This is a huge deal. The reason this matters so much is because right now, when you live in the Hampton or the south side of Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, etc., it's very rare for people to like develop friendships or even commute back and from there to the peninsula. If you work in the peninsula, it's very uncommon for someone to also live in the south side. Peninsula meaning Hampton, Newport News, Williamsburg. It's very Yorktown. It's very uncommon for people to live in one and work in the other, or have friends in one and live in the other. It's because that tunnel, and I'll show you on the map, that tunnel is enough of a barrier, mental barrier. I think it's a mental barrier. It's a barrier from the standpoint of driving distance, but it has a lot of traffic, but it's a mental barrier too. Because like if you go from, for example, town center's right here, and you take the interstate and take the 64 up to Hampton, it will take you about 35 minutes if there's no traffic. And even honestly, less than that, maybe 30 minutes to get even across the tunnel. And if you get into like the middle of Newport, Hampton here, like the middle of Hampton, 36, 37 minutes. And that's probably even a little bit long. But the problem is that the traffic has created a brand. It's branded Hampton Newport News as the far away spot. And so that 37 minutes feels like 2 hours from the mental aspect of it. And so what happens is people that want to live on one side, for example, Hampton, because it's cheaper, they think, well, I don't want to commute across the tunnel. Or my friend said that it is an awful traffic. The traffic's awful. Or my boss at work, or my captain in the military, whatever. But in theory, that they're actually correct. I mean, it's a frustrating long drive when the traffic's really bad. The traffic can take you. You can take you well over an hour to get from one side to the other. I'm not mincing words. That happens all the time, especially during rush hour. But the widening of the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel is going to me, be a game changer. I think that it's not going to necessarily reduce the typical drive time. Like, for example, driving to Buckrow Beach from town center is not going to take 38 minutes anymore, or whatever in that range. It'll still take the same amount of time if there's no traffic, but it will greatly reduce, to me, the frequency that the worst case scenario will happen. And I think that will likely possibly change the brand of Hampton or Newport News, even for that matter, for people that want to commute from both sides, from one side to the other. And I think that could increase the value of Hampton and Newport News. And I think there's a gap between the value or the prices of, Hampton House is $300. It's probably $425 or $400 in Virginia Beach, or $385 or whatever. It's a lot different, 20, 30, 40% sometimes. And so I think that gap is going to narrow because people are going to be realizing, okay, I can make that drive. Now, people that want to go after the school districts in a certain city, that's still going to be a thing, whether it be Yorktown, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, etc. But if that's not as much of a thing as if it's part of its drive time, you might find that there are other parts of town that, again, because of that tunnel being widened, I think it's going to really help traffic and just general life, like just mindset. Commuting from different parts of the town, of the area all the time, it's going to really help with the mindset and the vibe of the area, I think. And so, because I drive from Williamsburg past there, Toano, Lightfoot, down to Virginia Beach near the border sometimes, all the time. I mean, I go from Virginia Beach to Williamsburg quite a bit. And that tunnel, and I'm used to it myself now because I do it so much, but a lot of people, they don't do it very much. They don't want to drive it. So I think it's going to be a game changer. So I like Hampton for value. I like Newport News for value for the same reason, and even possibly Yorktown. But it's all that for the same reason. Yorktown already has some high price relative to other parts of the area because of the school districts and Langley Air Force Base proximity, in my opinion. But that being said, Newport News and Hampton have some good options, I think, for long-term appreciation, disproportionate to the rest of the Hampton Roads area. So, answering question, we moving to Hampton Roads in July. Great. What do you think about the areas like Western Branch, Culpeper Landing, and Hickory Manor? Oh, some good ones. So Western Branch, I've done some videos about Western Branch. I love Western Branch, again, for value. Part of it's going to depend on where you're going to be working, where you're going to be doing most of your life. Western Branch, there's an ecosystem in Western Branch that you can do all your living on that side of the area. Like, so there's shopping over there, and I'll go back to the map and show you, but there's shopping, there's business, there are businesses, there, everything you might need essentials wise is going to be, is going to be over here. So why is the Google link logo blue? That's annoying. Sorry. OCD. So 664 here, south of there, you've got Portsmouth, Northwest Portsmouth, and also Northeast Suffolk on both ends, bookending Western Branch right here. I love this whole area because you can get a house in here for 400. You may have to pay 450, 474, for example, in Virginia Beach or Chesapeake. School districts, again, check the rankings. I got to make sure and say that. I got to say it. But, you'll see some Western Branch is not ranked as high, for example, as other parts of Chesapeake or Virginia Beach. But I have a lot of friends that grew up over there. I like it over there. And I think, I say over there, I mean there are a lot of like more developments over in Suffolk that are close by. There's just this area. Amazon came a couple of years ago. The ecosystem here has been built up to where way back when, 30 years ago, you didn't have much over here. Like, there were a few grocery stores, not much else happening. You started seeing things change in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, and you started seeing a lot more new construction being built. Harborview, Northeast Suffolk is great. So that's why I like Western Branch. I still think it has some growing to do, because as more gets built up further into Suffolk, you'll start seeing more ecosystem being built, and that just increases the value of Western Branch, in my opinion. So that's one. So what else? You said Culpeper Landing. Culpeper Landing. Okay, pros and cons here. Culpeper Landing is open floor plans. And I did a video about Culpeper Landing as well. Open floor plans, relatively new houses, some new construction. In an area that is very hard to get to. So going back to the map, I guess you're looking at me. Are you looking at me or the map? I guess you're looking at the map. So south in here, see Deep Creek, go down south of, you see Galberry, see Shell, all this area here, George Washington Highway. This area is such a mess to drive around. It's so frustrating. This bridge right here is the worst. Is it Deep Creek Bridge? Yeah, I never even know what it's called. So you see these cars. This is nothing. It backs up. It's super annoying. This is the Intercoastal Waterway, but that's for a whole different video. Anyway, so the Culpeper Landing, for anyone who doesn't know, is further south below this bridge and below George Washington Highway. And the reason that matters is because this whole section is like a big cul-de-sac filled with streets. And Culpeper Landing is, the houses look nice. You see, it's got that newer style, the sidewalks that people that I've noticed from other parts of the country find very valuable. I'm not used to it as much here because, again, a lot of houses in here, neighborhoods are a lot older, so they didn't have that as much. But streets are, well manicured. It's a very nice looking neighborhood, and the floor plans are open, and you get a little bit cheaper too. Now the drawback is, I would say, the demand for the spot. Like, it's such a frustrating place to drive around. That's one thing that I think is annoying. And also, there have been some past issues with flooding on the north side. Google that, you'll see it. I did it, talked about that on my video of Culpeper Landing as well. The Deep Creek High School, I believe, is the only high school district there. So that is, if you're looking for Grassfield, looking for Hickory, looking for one of those Great Bridge, that's not in there. So that also affects the prices as well. And so those would be, I'd say, drawbacks would be that flooding concern on the north part. I've heard that's getting better. But yeah, price wise, it's great, but there are some drawbacks, a lot of drawbacks, I think, that just annoy me personally. So that's just my own take on that. So Hickory Manor, another thing about Hickory Manor, what's a good example of Hickory? So Hickory Manor is fantastic in a couple of ways. School district's great. Hickory School District, that's the biggest thing. In demand school districts. You're talking now closer to 600,000, 575 for a lot of these houses in Hickory Manor. The one thing that I think surprises some people is that with Hickory Manor, it is still considered a detached condo. It is a condo, and the construction has been great. I've heard some complaints from not that neighborhood though, just about like the construction, but not that specific neighborhood. So I would say that my experience has been fine there. From people I've talked to and work with people there, the houses look great. But the drawback is to me is you might be expecting a single family house that is not a condo because it's a single family house. And so you'll be paying a condo fee in Hickory Manor, but you're also it's a detached house. So it might feel like why am I paying for paying a condo fee? Well, you're paying for the amenities around there, but I believe their fee also includes cutting of the lawn, the front yard, I believe, and then you're maintaining the backyard. I can get more information if you want to ask me more about that. I can find out for sure and make sure and get that with you for you. But that's from the last time I talked to someone over there. That was the way it was. So, yeah, condo neighborhoods, usually you think condo, attached single family house or attached house, apartment style living, townhouses. No, not all the time. And so condos, that's just a version of home ownership, but it doesn't necessarily mean just a attached house. So of all those, I'm a fan of Western Branch. But again, I understand why why Hickory Manor is an option because of the school districts, but I also understand Culpeper Landing because of the styles of the houses, but I like Western Branch a lot. I like what you can get for the money there personally. Can you recommend a map resource that clearly shows where flood zones are? Thank you. Yes. Okay. So I will take the time to do that right now because I think this is important. So this is Virginia Beach's specific one. And can I drop a link in the comments? Yeah, I think I can. This is specifically for Virginia Beach. And I go back and I'll look and see if I can find that there's a resource for that otherwise for other cities. I think there is, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, it's hard to find specific flood maps. And when someone says, "Hey, can I see a house?" or I'm looking at a house I'm interested in, on the MLS as an agent, I can see there are flood maps. And I'll show you. I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to share my screen with a different part of, let's do this. Okay. You're going to be able to see me share my screen to a different, oops. You pay me for my understanding separate from computers, right? No, I'm just kidding. Where is the thing? There it is. All right. So you'll see this house here. All right. House in Virginia Beach. And so on the MLS, this is what the MLS shows. I can go on here and you see flood map. I can go on a flood map and it shows you what the flood map looks like, right? And X, it does not require flood insurance. AE does. Oops. AE does, and X500 does not. VE also does. So if you're close to water, good chance you might need it, but it's not always the case, especially in Virginia Beach. But if you go so I'm in Chesapeake now. See, in Chesapeake, there's so many. Let's go back. I'm gonna go back into Culpeper Landing. Good example. So I'll show you what Culpeper Landing looks like. So you see here. So the flooding I was talking about was up here in the north side, up here. So I could see why that was AE up here. But I think it was actually over here as well, maybe. I don't remember. But my reason for saying this is that you can see, I can look and see, okay, is the flood zone in X or is it in AE? And I can see that for any part of the area, generally speaking. And not to get into details about flood insurance, but just because your land is in AE does not mean you need it. It depends on where the structure of the house is usually. But you can go into that flood zone map, and I've noticed that map for Virginia Beach is I think has been pretty helpful for me. So you can kind of, if you see a house you like, you can kind of look and gauge to a certain degree. But I definitely would ask your real estate agent if you do have one, as to like, hey, does this one fall on AE or does it not? Or again, check with the insurance company as well. Wouldn't just stop at the agent, go to the insurance company because they will be able to tell you for sure. But it does help making decisions when making offers and all that, because it does affect, you can get insurance quotes. And we can, if you look at a house before making an offer, you can try and get an insurance quote prior to. And the best way to do it and get the cheapest rate is also usually getting an elevation certificate, which is kind of like a method that can be used to determine where the property or the structure lies in relation to the elevate or where it lies in relation to sea level, etc. So that's a helpful way to save some money too. But anyway, not to get into the weeds of flood insurance, but that's a start. Hickory is a nice area. You got that right. I agree with you. Lynch Stan. Hey, Lynch Stan. Hello, Virginia native here. Great. As am I. Welcome to the stream. Hey, my fiance and myself live in Virginia Beach now. Moved here in October. Great. Your videos were a big part of that. Thanks for what you do. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I am happy to hear that I am able to help. And if you're watching and you don't have an agent yet, that's what I do as well. You feel free to, I'll put my email address or phone number or whatever. Let me know if you need help. I will do whatever I can to help you. And talk to me about like timeframes and all that kind of stuff. And I'll answer as fast as I possibly can. Simon's telling the truth. Great info. Ooh, man, Chris G. Thank you very much, Chris G. Thanks for the shout out. I love trying to give as accurate information as I can. I love doing that because I just think it's great. I just think that people that aren't from here, it's such a weird ranked one of the 10 toughest places to maneuver around or not get lost. I can't remember. There's some weird statistic, but I just think that people that come from different parts of the country or different parts of the world, it's hard to kind of feel like you're at home. And that's what I want to try and do in this channel is help you feel like you're at home before you even move here. Is Buckrow a good place to buy a home? So I mentioned Buckrow. Hey, Trevor. Yeah. So I love Buckrow a lot. And so if what is happening with the tunnel is actually going to be what's happening, or what does that even mean? If what is happening with the tunnel with the construction affects the area like I think it will, then I think Buckrow has some more growing to do as well, because that's the closest beach to the tunnel that's on that cheap side, on the Hampton side. The cheaper side that I think is going to have some growth to do. So I do like Buckrow a lot. There's not as much there. So not a big beach, but there are some bungalow style, some areas just off the coast, like a few blocks you can get some great buys. And Hampton is also more friendly for Airbnb as of right now compared to Virginia Beach. So if you want to do something like that as well, but have some clients that are on the coast of Hampton, I think are fantastic. It's a fantastic location for the price for what you get. Again, you can't get the same thing in Virginia Beach by any stretch. But it's right next to the Dismal Swamp. Oh yeah. I guess we're talking about what's the word? Not Clover Meadows. Culpeper Landing. Yeah, I didn't even mention that. Next to Dismal Swamp, I ran down that Dismal Swamp. There's a street that goes along the side there, and I would run like almost marathons down that road up and back, because that's a great long road. But yeah, it's near the Dismal Swamp. I have not heard of any issues directly tied to that. It's a huge, the Dismal Swamp's a huge landmass. So for me, the negatives are in other things, not necessarily being close to that, but I'm also from here, so I'm just kind of used to the Dismal Swamp existing, if you will. So, that's me. Clark Smith Adventures. Hey, Clark Smith Adventures. Hi, Sam. I watch your channel all the time. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wait. Oh, hold up. Before I go into that, Clark Smith. Wait, did we talk before? I feel like we have. How long ago did we talk before? I'll look this up. I thought we had a okay, maybe we didn't. I thought we've been talking a little bit before. So if I'm wrong, please forgive me. Sorry. Going back. Hey, Brian. So Brian and I worked together. Gosh, it's been a couple of years ago. Yeah, we did. Okay, Clark Smith. Yes. Thank you, Brian, for the shout out. And your house is, gosh, his house was really well done. I don't want to get into his personal details, but his house is awesome. Right near a golf course. And now that I'm starting to get into golf a little bit, you might be seeing me. Actually, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to go and say, hey, I might go over there and say hello to you if you have the time, because I'm trying to get into it. So anyway, if you have time, let me know, and I'd like to come by and say hello. So next play is, any other neighborhoods in Greenbrier East? Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you said that, and I have some more things to say. about that. Greenbrier East. Okay, Greenbrier East and Greenbrier West. I want to talk about Greenbrier West as well. And I know you didn't say that at the same time, but I think that it's important to mention now for the reason that I'm about to say right now is that Greenbrier East, there are a couple over there I like a lot. Bayberry Forest, Bayberry Woods. Yeah, Bayberry Woods is one that's right behind Greenbrier Mall that I like a lot. Houses in the 4s and close to around 5 now, especially near the water, but that I think are awesome. You're literally around the block from the center, the heart of Greenbrier, right? I think that's a big deal. There's another neighborhood that's behind there that's I think just called Greenbrier, and that has houses like the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, but they're smaller, like 1,400 square feet. The reason that I'm mentioning these is because if you want something cheaper, but you want to be in Greenbrier, this area is fantastic. And I'm going to show you on the map here because this is it's a unique neighborhood. Let's go over here, Greenbrier East. All right. So it's unique because the houses, the sizes of them are smaller than what you might normally expect. So let's see, Bayberry over here. So I'm drop a pin. So Eden Way, first of all, you see Eden Way here, Greenbrier Parkway, that's the main thoroughfare. And then if you come off of there, Bayberry Woods, if I'm getting that right, I can't believe I'm not guessing that correctly, right? Oh, the sign's right here. Bayberry Place, Bayberry Forest, Bayberry Place. There we go. Gosh. So that's Bayberry Place right here. And like trees are awesome. Houses built in the 80s, but you got brick ranches, you got 2-story. This is an old street view. So it looks much like it's super old, grainy. But if you come around the side here, and I used to run through here all the time, this neighborhood right here, Greenbrier, I'll drop a pin here, Sage Court, you'll find some, no, not Sage. Is that Sage? No. One over for, I'm sorry, what am I talking about? Turn on to Somerset. These houses are smaller lots. There we go. Sorry. This cleaner street view. You see a couple 2-stories here, but these are like 1,200, 1,300, 1,400. Some are like 16 and 17, but you can get houses in here in the low 300s, low to mid 300s, and you're super close to the center of Greenbrier. So again, you're not getting everything. The lots aren't huge. The houses aren't huge, but that's why you're getting a cheaper house. So that's the give and take, right? So close to Greenbrier Mall, not a big a fan of the mall anymore. It's a shame, but the rest of the shops are here. It is happening in Greenbrier. I love Greenbrier. But the thing I want to mention that I think is super helpful is, I'll go into some more neighborhoods over here in a minute, but okay, Dollar Tree. This is something I just let slide. I wasn't thinking about it. I don't know. I should have been more focused on this part of town. But I guess I'm so used to Greenbrier, like the traditional Greenbrier side, like over near Greenbrier Parkway, that I just don't think about. I block my mind. My mind thinks Dollar Tree when you talk about Volvo Parkway and Executive, like right here, right? So Dollar Tree Distribution Center, the headquarters is right here. Dollar Tree is like big in Chesapeake. Well, recently, in the last couple of years, they've built this area that's like a campus that's right in front of the Dollar Tree buildings, and it's called Summit Point. Summit Point has restaurants. It has luxury apartments. It's got so there it is. This is before it was all built up, and I'm going to do a video soon that includes this because this is to me pretty important. What Dollar Tree has done recently. You see Summit Point Drive right there. That's all new. But I'm going to share my screen to show you this is the old, just the one Dollar Tree building. And this is all built up new, like recently. I mean, it's new and it's still getting built up. But restaurants in here, you've got apartments in here, you've got businesses like, I think there's like a spin cycle place in here, like a workout area. You've got multiple really good restaurants, different styles. One called Neat Bird that I like, the chicken place. Chicken and Whiskey, I think. But a chicken place, I like that. This is all like these. This is restaurants in here now. Like Neat Bird is right over here. That's where Neat Bird is. I'm going to show you where Neat Bird, or where I'm showing you where what other stuff is here now that the area's been built up. I'm going to show you on. This is cool. But this is all new. So okay, this looks like, oh, it's a rendering. What's going on? Like, this is real. It's not real, but this is similar to what it kind of looks like. And so you got office space. Yeah, this is, I don't want to play the
At the
all right. So this is summitpointva.com. I'm going to drop a link so you can see what is here. There. You can kind of browse around, but this is big. This is I got workspace, retail space. I want to show you. Yeah, this is real. This is a picture of what's happened. What's they built up. This is a luxury, not luxury. It's a office space building, Bel Air. So you got stuff in here. You got retail, and there's restaurants that are still going to be opened. A brewery, Wasserhund, they started in Virginia Beach. They're great. Pale Horse Coffee, that's open now. I've seen it. Luce Secundo, I think it's called Secundo. They have a place in Virginia Beach. I've not been to Luce, but I've heard it's very, very good. Salons, blah, 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 blah. It's not me, but for those who are into salons, there you go. Bay Barbershop. Okay, I had not been in there either. There's that Star Cycle place I was talking to you about. There's Neat Bird, good chicken place. I like their chicken. Some more new restaurants that are coming this year. I've seen those signs up. They haven't finished it yet. A Chop House. Anyways, a lot of stuff coming up in this area. And so this is pretty close to Greenbrier, but if I can add the element of being close to Greenbrier West, the fact that there is more coming in Greenbrier West or close to Greenbrier West, to me is a big deal. So you got Sam's Club, you got Walmart on this side, but there's nothing like super fancy, super close to here. There's some good stuff. There's some like TGI Fridays, I think, is over here, like close to the corner. Yeah, there it is. Mission Barbecue. There's a lot of restaurants, but having this newer kind of walkable vibe here is, to me, cool. And I don't know how close the walkability is, or if there's sidewalks from the corner of Volvo Parkway and Battlefield over up into the Dollar General or Dollar Tree area. But if there is, it makes it even easier. But there's some houses and neighborhoods in here. Essex Meadows. This area I love because of this reason. It's super convenient, but it's like this like brick ranch, two-story area that you can get a house in here for like the mid 300s right now. Some larger lots, but they're a little bit older neighborhood. But again, the lots are nice size. So this area and across the street is also Woodbrier. Oh, there's Woodbrier Apartments. Woodbrier has some townhouses and some single-family houses as well. Battlefield Commons, condo neighborhood back here. So anything that's closer to the Dollar General, I keep saying Dollar General, Dollar Tree new development called Summit Point. I like that a lot. So that being said, going back to Greenbrier East, because that's what's the question you asked me. If you want something that's a little bit more upscale, one of my favorite upscale neighborhoods in Chesapeake is a neighborhood I can't remember. What's the name of the neighborhoods? Oh goodness, my mind just drew a blank. Masters Row, Emerald Greens. Okay, because it's on the Greenbrier Country Club. But you got real nice neighborhood in here. I've done videos that have included Emerald Greens in here, but kind of more custom style houses. Some of them are large around the edges, around the corners of the neighborhoods. But I really like this neighborhood a lot. It's very convenient, obviously. But there are a couple others in here as well. Some condo neighborhoods that I think are worth checking out. But I like that Emerald Greens quite a bit. So anyway, but I'm a big fan of Greenbrier right now. I think that new little pop with Dollar Tree, I think, is just an extra little element of newness that I think is just adds another level to what is in Greenbrier. So keeping going. Okay, I digress. Love Buck Grove Beach. Me too. Yes, I did. Yeah, we did talk. Okay, about a year ago. Cool. Very cool. Awesome, Brian. Thank you for that. I appreciate that, and we'll do. That's awesome. Nick's Play is back. I'm familiar with Eden Way and that area. Yeah, I'm a fan of that area personally. That's where my mechanic Was he sold out? He retired, but that's where he is. Trying to get my husband to move down there. We currently live in Baltimore, but we love it down there. However, not to be rude, but someone told us not to buy a house that has a number as a street. What? Oh, someone told us not to buy a house that has a number as a street. Okay. There are a lot of opinions that include things like that to me that are very general. And so that's where it's touchy. I get it. But to me, it really depends on where. There are spots that have numbers that, I mean, that are so different than what you might find in other spots that have numbers. So that's really, I understand the premise, but it just depends on where, is my thought on that. Yeah, that's, I guess I answered your question, but I guess it depends. Oh, that's me again. Brighton Park, the Bishopstoke Drive area. Yeah. Brighton Park would be off of Eden. I guess that's what you mean. The Brighton Park is the neighborhood, the condo neighborhood right next to Eden Way. So yeah, that area I think is fantastic. And now the drawback there would be if you're looking for Great Bridge, if you're looking for Hickory, if you're looking for Grassfield, then you're not going to get it there. You're in Indian River School District. So that might not matter to you, but if it does, that's what will be the drawback if you're wanting a certain school district, like the last three I mentioned. And those three often are the ones that are, I'd say, most expensive in the area, if you will. Trevor, lots of homes with numbers are nice. Yeah, lots of streets. Yeah, it just depends. It's really, same goes with people that might rule out certain cities. It really does depend. And I could drive someone through a different one part of town and you might think it's in a different city altogether. And it's just because it's very, very, it just depends. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. But if you have any more questions, feel free to drop them here. Yeah, you're welcome. Drop them here. Feel free to answer any more questions for you. I wanted to make sure I talked about the areas near Greenbrier because of Summit Point. I thought that was important to know. And so one thing I'll mention too is that as we get into the springtime, the places to focus on, I think, are like as far as neighborhoods go, that for value, I'm still loving Salem Woods a lot for the low upper fours, low fives. Also loving Larkspur for upper fours, low fives. Also, because you can get them also in the low fours. Also loving Bellamy Manor. And these areas are all in the central-ish part of Virginia Beach. And I just like being that central. So I'll drop a pin back or show you on the map, kind of show you what I'm talking about. But this area, generally speaking, over like this whole area here, like center of Virginia Beach, some great neighborhoods here. They're just older, right? So that's your just trade off there. But I just like being that central. When President Biden came in town, he landed in Oceana yesterday. And I will say, one thing to keep in mind is that yesterday was an illustration as to what happens when traffic gets bad, and it got real bad yesterday. 264 backed, they closed a lot of it, I think, and they closed a lot of streets close to the Kempsville Rec Center, which is right here. So he came in right here. And so it was busy. It was busy. And Princess Anne was a disaster. Woodstock was a disaster. Holland Road was a disaster. Virginia Beach Boulevard was nuts. Independence, all these roads, 264, anything that you'd think, and some that you wouldn't think were full of traffic, were nuts. I have friends that were blocked out of their neighborhood because they couldn't get in. And it's just kind of an illustration of just it's a spot that, if you're in Virginia Beach specifically, see all these roads they wind around. When they wind this much, so many traffic lights, so much that gets congested. The area wasn't designed for as many people as that are here, to me. But again, it was just a mess. And so when accidents happen, it can really like this. Yesterday was the illustration of what happens when a lot of the area backs up and streets get closed. But if an accident happens on 264, it happens on 64, it happens on a side road, that happens on a smaller scale in that specific area. So just it's same goes in Norfolk, Chesapeake. It's just it's a bunch of windy roads. And I need to find that website to show that ranked. I think it was the worst areas to navigate, and I think we were number 10. So what do you do? What do you do? But I think that's good for now. And I don't see any more questions. So I think this is a good time to wrap it up. If you have any more questions later, feel free to email me. And I have my email address is right here. You can email me anytime. Call me, text me as well. Here's my phone number. I will answer as fast as I can from either of those. Sometimes emails can be better if it's more of an in-depth question, or if you're asking me about, hey, like if you want to want me to help you relocate to the area, I do that as well. You can just drop an email, or you can call and text. I'll answer as fast as I can. There's my website as well. And there's comments. I got one more comment I'll answer, I think. Oh, Nick's Playas. Great Bridge Boulevard has a lot of traffic every weekday. Yep. It does. And especially near Battlefield. Battlefield is a very congested area. Thank you. Great. Thanks a lot, my Stonewashed Jeans. I don't know your real name, but you're welcome, my Stonewashed Jeans. I will be doing this for as long as I possibly can in the foreseeable future. I love doing these for people. So if you have any more video ideas that you need help like navigating, more information about specific areas, for anywhere from the border of Virginia Beach all the way through Williamsburg, Jamestown, I love to help people all through the area. So just reach out, or if you have questions or want more information about certain videos that you want me to make, let me know, and I will see you on the next video.